welcome back to another fun week to go through some drawing techniques, expressive portraits. So just before we begin, there's a little list of supplies here. I know my writing is not all that legible, but the supplies are simple. All you'll really need is paper. The bigger the better. I'm going to use a nice big sheet. Pencil, pen, pastels, markers, chalk, really whatever you feel most comfortable drawing with. Today I'm going to start off, I think, with some pencil and then move on to maybe some charcoal or these pastels. This here is, it's kind of like a pencil, kind of like a big piece of, like a big piece of chalk. It's just a big pencil chunk, a pencil block. It's not all that different from a normal pencil, but it's nice and bigger. It's nice and big, so it's easier for you folks to see on the camera. So, as always, if you're here to draw along with us, that's fantastic. If you're here just to sort of watch and have a nice relaxing time, that's great too. We are here for all of you. Today we're not really focusing too much on realistic drawing. That's, I'll be honest, rarely a focus of mine. I like to go, more expressive and that sort of thing. So no matter what sort of skill level you feel you're at, everybody's welcome in this environment. So to get started, I'm going to draw my sort of portrait in this big giant space. And I'm going to start with some of the more traditional kind of things here. So I'm going to start with a nice big shape. And I'm not really worried too much about, are the lines straight? Are they meeting up? I'm not really worried about that all too much. Typically, when we're mapping out where a face goes, you start with a shape, whatever shape you go. You can also do more rectangle or a square face shape or kind of a heart-shaped face, whatever you prefer. I'm going to start with this kind of rectangular oval. And then in the middle of the face, I'm going to draw a line going across horizontal and vertical. And this is going to help me map out where my eyes and nose and things are going to go. I'm going to draw another line halfway between the eye and the chin, and then one more small one right down there. And this is going to help me kind of map out some things. So here for the nose, I'm going to put a bit of a triangle. The eyes, I'm going to kind of mark them in there. My ears are going to kind of start there. And then for the shoulders, let's say I'm going to kind of bring the line from the ear here, just sort of along, and then kind of come out like that for the neck. And then my shoulders are going to kind of sort of go like that. I'm not going to worry too much about this part yet. I'm more focused up here. Okay, so now I've got the basics in place. And if you want to draw your face looking in a different direction, you might do something pretty similar, like, and then maybe if our person is looking down, I'll put the line down here and maybe like this. So then the nose is there, the eyes are there, and that way they're kind of looking that way, right? So you can see a bit of the difference, looking straight on and then looking down, a bit like that. I'm going to start with this one so we can kind of get the hang of it, and then maybe I'll move on to that second one. Okay, so I think I'm going to start off with a bit of charcoal. The nice thing about charcoal is that you can use the side, you can use the tip, and you can kind of smudge it a little bit. If you don't have charcoal, pastels or chalk is pretty similar to charcoal. Charcoal just has a bit of a different, it's not as chalky, I guess. You can also use, nice big thick markers. All right, so we're looking at trying to get really expressive line work, really dramatic darks and lights, and this is how we can get a really expressive portrait. So I'm going to start kind of my lines again. They're not very straight. They're not, they're not really fine work lines. I'm going to put maybe a bit of a thing there for the nose. That's kind of that shape. The mouth, I'm going to move it up a little bit. And I'm going to start using some more like kind of more sort of jagged lines here. Ears, kind of like this. And as I mentioned before, I'm not focusing on drawing, realistic eyes, just trying to sort of map things out. For the eyebrows, I usually kind of use the nose as a bit of a landmark. So I'll start on the nose and kind of curl over, almost there's like a number 2 right there. And that can kind of tell me where my eyebrows are. Now, if you want different kind of expressions, the eyebrows are a great place to start. So if your eyebrows are down kind of closer to the eyes, your portrait might be looking a little like maybe more like concentrating, or like they're focusing. If their eyebrows are higher up, they're maybe inquisitive, looking for something. And if you have one up and one down, then maybe you've got like a bit of confusion or something like that. So I'm going to put a bit of a furrow in there. So now our character looks a little, or our portrait looks a little bit upset. All right, and for hair, you can, let's say you can do a part in the middle, you can do a part on either side. Maybe for this one, I'll do kind of a part on this side. I'm going to do some really big kind of everywhere hair, like maybe this person just woke up from a bad dream or something, or the dog was barking and they were having a really nice sleep and they're, what's going on? Now at this point, maybe what I'll do instead of, doing these is I'm going to give our person a nice big kind of shoulder collar, something like that. So their shoulders are coming up right up to here. Now, normally when you see a person, their shoulders don't do that. But maybe the person is sort of credited forward. And if that was the case, then their shoulders would kind of be like that. And at this point, if you want to sort of change the shape of the face a little bit, you can do that without having to erase and sort of change things. So I'm going to switch over to oil pastels now. And I'm going to show you if I want, say, this part, the chin and cheeks to be a bit narrower, I can start to kind of fill in some of this here. And that's starting to change the shape of the head quite a bit, which is kind of neat. I'm going to think about where I want my light source to come from. So let's say I'm going to have a spotlight coming this way. So my shadow is going to be on this side of the face. So now with my pastel, I'm going to start putting in big, chunky bits of shadow and shading, especially around the nose and then the mouth. Around the eyes here. Now I'm going to start adding in a little bit more for the mouth. And then the chin under here. And then to give your portrait maybe a little bit of age, you can add some lines underneath the eyes like that. That makes them look a little bit older. You can add some lines on the forehead if you want. Oh, now this guy's looking really old. All right, and now what you can do to get your portrait or your picture even more dramatic is you've got all this white space around here. So why don't we go in and kind of fill that in around. And this here, you can also, by doing this, you can adjust the shape of the hair a little bit. And I'm just using the side of the pastel to get kind of a quicker thing. And now let's put in some of this. I can cover up that arrow that I used. Maybe the hair is a bit too crazy, so maybe I'll kind of, you know, bring it in a little bit. And this is where I'm starting to do some more fine tuning. Right now I can kind of go around, and if I want to add a little bit more dark in areas, or if you're using pastels, you can go back in with other colors. Or maybe I'll use, you know, maybe I'll use some colors. So I'm going to put maybe just some subtle little hints of color here and there, not a lot, which is what I'm choosing to do. If you want to use lots and lots of color, you know, go for it. And then I'm going to use kind of an orange for a little bit more. And if I want to get rid of this, I did that with charcoal, so I can kind of just erase it or like smudge it out a little bit. Pastel is much harder to do that. Let's see, maybe I'll make the hair mostly red, or like some reds and oranges. And there you go. So we've got a really dramatic looking portrait from some, you know, we started with that normal sort of head shape, and then added in some really like rough and quick, really squiggly lines. Now that I've added some color, I might add in a little more black, and I'm noticing now I don't have anything on the bottom here to sort of finish it off. So since my light is coming from there, I'm gonna have a nice big shadow on this side. Maybe add a little bit of line work in there. So now I've got this big, bright white reflection and like highlights on this side, and a nice big heavy shadow on this side. All right, so now let's see what we can do with our next one. I'm gonna just kind of move this one over to the side, keep it kind of handy. All right, so now let's work on this one a bit. We've got a bit of a giant forehead here. We can fix that, no problem. And we're working with some angles now, so it might get a little bit trickier. So I'm going to do the same sort of thing that I did before. I'm going to maybe use marker for this one this time and see how it goes. I've got the eyes. The mouth is going to be kind of there. The nose, just again, doing some very small ticks that are just going to mark areas for me. Do my eyebrows kind of like the number 2 shape. Okay, and then they've got another eyebrow over here. Maybe draw some kind of now I've done this here, but I want this face to be a little bit, you know, smaller. My ear is going to go about there. So I'm cutting in quite a bit. Okay. And now, since we're seeing a bit of the side of the head, when we come down, I'm going to start right here. And then instead of putting my neck there, I'm going to start here and kind of draw my neck down like this, and then over there a bit. Because if we kind of think about it, like where would the spine be? You know, the base of the skull would be, you know, there, and then the spine would start coming down like this. All right, now we're going to add some more shading, just like we did before. And again, you're going to decide where your light source is going to be. As I'm doing this, maybe I'm going to add in some hair. Let's do something a little more kind of pulled back. There we go. And the hair usually comes, so if my ear was here, the hair usually comes and sticks a little bit in front of the ear, sometimes depending on the hairstyle. All right, for this one, I'm going to use some cooler colors, some greens and blues. Let's put some of that in the hair. And I know, like, you know, a person's hair isn't naturally blue, or like a person's face isn't maybe naturally some of the colors that we're choosing, but I'm just using this to sort of crank up a bit of the expressiveness, because colors can play a huge role in showing us what a portrait is feeling or what a picture is feeling. If we've got lots of really warm colors, lots of reds, you know, it might tell us that our portrait character is a little more agitated, since, you know, red, warm colors, they're a little bit more aggressive, and sometimes these cool colors are a little bit more subdued. So maybe we've got like a bit of a calmer thing going on. Or maybe not, you know, maybe you're able to use you know, blues and greens and like cool colors to get a really kind of cold look, right? And maybe again, I will use the black, but I'm just going to use it maybe on this side. And this is going to show you how you can adjust, again, the shape of the face. So I'm using the pastel, and I'm almost like carving in to the face like that. I can do that for the hair as well. My hair, if I feel like it's too big, I can take a little bit off like that. And now I've got this huge kind of contrast, right? I've got dark, dark, and very light, light going on. And there you go. So now we've got some very wildly expressive portraits, using some colors today. Lots of fun, drawing nice and big. I hope that you have enjoyed your time with us, and I hope you have a great time drawing if you draw it, and if you just sort of watched, then I hope you had a great time watching. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you in another stream on another day. Have a great one.